Good afternoon, traders. A little breakdown of today's 4-4 session. Uh, kind of a little added bonus, and probably more because the weather here is really bad, and you can only list to so much of an ex-president marching for an indictment. Coverage was a little bit much. Anyway, let's get to what happened here today. And I spoke earlier within the first hour of the opening about the long game. 4110 being your supports. I mean, in the event, nobody knows what this market's going to do. And we do know it's a bit extended. I talk about this all the time. And I actually did make a video yesterday, and for some reason, I never sent it. Uh, just provided that awareness. So, we talked about it in 41 to 42. It is what it is. It's rare air. You have to be really respectful of whether or not we have the courage or the energy or the support to just explode and break out of it. 42 is a big number. So, it's a retracement of a giant run up. Everything's still in order, but it's expected. And the market pretty much told it to you. And I want to show you something. It's pretty cool. And I actually spent a lot of time watching this today and probably intrigued more by everything it did and the reactions it gave from all these locations because this is what I talk about and how well this can help you prepare to really trade these markets or be prepared if they come into play. They don't always work this nicely, but when they do, it says a lot and it teaches you a lot about price and how to understand a trend and whether it's broken or whether it's going to hold. Let's move forward. Here's a perfect example of what I talk about. I always speak about discipline between 8:30 and 9, but that's me. I've been doing this a while. I just don't get caught up. If I miss something, I miss it. The famous saying is that another train will come to the stop. So, you know, they didn't give me what I prefer, and that's a run up to 66. It happened overnight. It doesn't make a difference. It didn't happen at all. And they kind of rolled this morning and they filled a gap and then they basically made a low and they stayed above settlement. And I want to show you this because it happened in both markets. At 9 o'clock, you got this massive push up. And everybody thinks most traders will take this as a big sign. And it immediately rolled down, but it hung in there. Now, same happened in a Dow. See that? Had this, look at that bar right there. It spiked up there and it completely reversed. Now, I like using a Dow. It's a help as a guide. Is it going to is it going to have any significance to the yes? It can. You got to understand it's a thinner market, but it's telling you something. This is a huge breakdown in the Dow. And this coincided with this meltdown right here. And this was the breakout to the downside. And because I am kind of looking for failure, ideally up here I didn't get it. That really is the sign. And the Dow is telling me that. And it's really kind of a layup trade. I mean, if you're aggressive, you take it. It's and you could have got this anywhere around 46. I mean, 56, 55 was like last call, and it was worth 10 handles. So your expectations, even if it doesn't really roll, is that it's going to come back down to the pivot. I talked about that, and I said, what will the market do at the pivot? I'm not looking for the long. This is a settlement rally after the low. I didn't want any part of it. The market came back one more time, and this. But I want to show you how the rest of the day played out. So here's just the last of the pivot right here. It came in around 10 o'clock, and you notice how these are happening at round numbers. There's always some volume movement at the round numbers 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Probably the more important ones for me from all the years I've been on the floor was 12 lunchtime rally run up and 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock sell off. If in fact, I mean, it's just something I remember. Don't forget the bonds were a key part of trading in the early days in the pits, and last hour was always a big deal, 1 to 2. Anyway, this is really about the pivots. And, this is nothing new. Everybody has this. There's nothing special, nothing magical. But it does tell you a lot about how that reaction of prices and what it's going to tell you for the trading session as a whole. And this was the next sign that there was trouble. And I'm fairly certain. Let's just take a look. I'm doing this now, and I wasn't even looking at this. Let's look at 10 o'clock at the Dow. I mean, the Dow was ready to get impounded. So yeah, it did. The Dow just kept going. I mean, it was kind of the market was telling you a lot with that big swing, guys. And that's when 45 gave way all the way down to 32, and they kind of bottomed out around 27 and 27. And remember, this area was a huge volume area, and this became your chop zone between 33 and 27, 28. Okay, for the rest of the day with extensions down to 24 and 35. And why is that relevant? Well, let's take a look at it. I was hoping for a bounce off of here. I did take it somewhere around in here. It rolled over on me and it took me out and this was the turn for the rest of the downside. This was market just kind of doing a flush. We failed at the pivot and now we're failing. And the only reason I bring this up because 35 was a high. They couldn't get to 35. They broke right here, right around 27, which is the bottom of this volume, and then you can see this is light volume to the low, and then they bounced, and then they kind of hung in here. So they made the low, and I'm just going to show you the rest of the day real quickly because I thought 24 was a breakout number. Uh, you know, I wasn't aggressive. I didn't take it, but it came into play really late, if I'm not mistaken. But no, actually 24. Even 24 this was the extended range. I was talking about 24 up to 35, and this is kind of a setup right there. High volume break off. They're kind of telling you that that was the first warning sign that 35 was going to be an issue, and that turned out to be your high for the afternoon. Everything else was just kind of junk. It was just chop. It stayed down too long, and I did think 24 was a big number. It came late, 3 o'clock. I'm just not playing it, and they just marked it up and they took profits. So it's a good way of kind of getting to read and getting help from the Dow. And like I said, all I'm really doing when I analyze this stuff every morning is what's the long game and what are my scenarios if this market does extend, and there's no reason not to feel this and think this way because the volatility has been high and it's good to look that way. So it presents opportunities. I didn't really take advantage down here. It's not a perfect science. It fell a little short. It could come. I thought I'm looking for more perfection. In fact, if I was trading a Dow, it would have been I would have been right on the money. I talked about this at 934 460. It pretty much held like a rock. I mean, if you really want to be realistic, I mean, just take a look. They had no intentions of taking it out. They worked with you, and they really tried to shake you out on a bunch of. It's just chop. It's all chop. In the end, they marked it up for now. So these are numbers you're going to have to look for in the following days. I'm going to briefly give them to you. It's the same thing. The trend will come up a little bit. It's going to be around 4,100. I don't know where tomorrow's numbers are. So, areas of interest 35. 35, 45 obviously is where they came, or today's pivots. I don't know what tomorrow's going to be. So, and these are your numbers. 34, 460 in a Dow is probably going to be a big deal underneath that moving average. And you start to think about leakage, and the same will hold for the ES. Could come all the way down to actually a 47 and probably still be good. But the problem with this, and I'm just going to mention this, is even if we came down to 47, my bigger concern is this MA right here at 4040. I mean, that's the ultimate support. And the only reason I say that is there's a low of 32 that never filled a gap down to 41, 4,000. And how is not really interesting how everything is lined up. This MA is right exactly where this gap fill will feel. So, I mean, this market really wanted to trend back down like it has been. It could roll all the way down there. I don't know if it's going to, but I'll think that way. So, but I'm going to respect all these locations first and the trend as a whole and see whether or not if this is for real going back up. Market has yet to do it. So, what's going to push it over the top? One only knows. All right, 4-4. I'm taking off for a couple of days. Hope you guys trade successfully. Be patient. Be good.